All right, I'd like to give you guys an idea how to set up a microscope slide properly, because we're going to have to do this in class today. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a sample of celery today, and we're going to see what we have to do to make it visible under the microscope. So what I have here, just a slide. It's clean. We're going to be making a wet mount slide today. So wet mount kind of implies that we're going to have to add some water. So I have a little droplet of water. I'm going to add right in the center of it. Don't need much, just one drop. Right. Now I already have a sample prepared here. Now this is from celery. And now if I just took this piece of celery and tried to stick it under the microscope, it wouldn't work. The light wouldn't be able to pass through it, so we couldn't be able to see it. So what I did is I took a scalpel and a pair of tweezers, and I took a very thin chunk of celery. Now it's important that it's thin because we need light to be able to pass through it to be able to see the cells inside. So I put it right in the center on my drop of water. And now the next thing I have to do is add what's called a cover slip. So this is a very thin piece of glass. And watch carefully how I do this. So I'm going to put it in the droplet of water just on the edge, and then drop it down slowly. So I put it on an angle, and then when you push it down, it's going to force the air bubbles out and just leave water underneath the slide. Right? So there's that, and you can see our sample right in the middle. Now this would work underneath the microscope, but it's going to be a little bit hard to see because the cells kind of would blend in with the background. So what we can do is we can add a drop of dye or stain, and I'm just going to put it to the edge of the cover slip, and it's actually going to be sucked underneath. And I can even speed it along too. If I put a piece of paper towel on the one side, it'll kind of absorb the dye throughout the slide. Oops. And help it pull through. All right, so you'll see our sample right there. It's dyed nicely, so we should be able to see that fine underneath the microscope. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so if we're going to want to take a look at our slide, we have to use a microscope, obviously. So I'm going to use actually a prepared slide. This is a piece of onion, just to make it easier to see what we're doing. Now, coming over to the microscope. It's important that your microscope starts in a certain way. So when you carried it, we carried it by the arm and the base over to your desk, plug it in, all that. Now, first thing, obviously, is you got to turn it on, make sure the light's coming up through. It's important that your microscope also starts with the low power lens there in place. Now, if we put our microscope slide underneath there, it's going to be kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom that in. You might be able to see that the green sample in the middle is right in my light source. So that's what I want. I want the light coming right up through my sample. Now the reason we have the low power in place when we're starting is because, first of all, it's going to make it easier to see and find our sample. Because if we're zoomed in really far and we move just a tiny bit, the slide seems to jump very far. It moves a lot when you're really zoomed in. So looking at it under low power in the beginning is important to help you find it. Also, so we don't damage the slide when we're first looking at it. So I'm going to go ahead and using the coarse adjustment knob, the bigger knob on the side, which is going to move my stage up until I'm able to actually see something. So it's starting to come into focus. Starting to get clearer, and I'm moving very slowly with hopes of trying to stop right on it. All right, there you go. All right, that was low power. Let's go ahead and see what it takes to magnify it even more. So that was our 4 times magnification down here and 10x up here. So that's a total of 40 times magnification. Now if I rotate the nose piece and bring another objective lens into place, we'll see that now I have the 10x in place and then the 10x up top. So now we're looking at 100 times magnification. Now it's important once you start using things other than the low power objective that you don't touch the coarse adjustment knob. Again, it's going to move the slide a lot, so it'll come out of focus very fast. And also, if you move it too much, the slide is going to end up running into the objective lens, and then it's going to break the slide or the microscope even. So I'm just going to go slowly moving the fine adjustment knob, which is going to move the stage just a little bit. And again, I'm going slow. And once I see it start to come into focus, I'm going to slow down. And right about there is pretty good. Finally, this is under high power, so now I'm using the 40x objective lens and the 10x up top, giving us a total of 400 times magnification. And with this view, it's clear that we can see certain parts of the cell. We can see the cell wall, which are like the lines around each cell, kind of make it look like bricks in a brick wall. We can see the cytoplasm in the middle of the cell. We can clearly see the nucleus, which is the dots in the center of the cells. Now hopefully with that, I hope you're able to set up a microscope correctly and be able to find your first specimen under the microscope.